Hello YouTube, I wanted to make a little follow-up video on this unit here, the 40,000, and because I had this, I was working on this in the shed the past 2 weekends, and I finally got it in a spot where I want it now. I'm currently playing my test tape the day after tomorrow. It's my test tape because I have 2 copies of this, and it's not like it's hard to find. So I got this running DTS to the receiver, and the machine is now working better than it was the last time I made a video on it. What I did was, and maybe I should lower the volume of my TV. So what I did was, because it was still eating tapes just randomly, the straw that broke the camel's back for me was it ate my copy of Backdraft, which I'm kind of sentimental towards because that was an early watch for me. So I was like, alright, I have to investigate this thing, take it apart and see what's going on. While I have it apart, I figured I should bite the bullet and recap the digital preamp board and the digital board and see how that helps, because the caps on these are notorious, as I definitely said in the last video, are notorious for just drying out. These units run hot, so that's gonna dry out the yeah, and there's a dropout there. So that's gonna dry out the capacitors, and plus some of these, if they're on the 5 volt line, I noticed that they just use 6.3 volts, and that's, to me, 1.3 volts of headroom is not enough. That's gonna wear out the caps even more. So, well, I don't really have a before and after to show you for the preamp board here, but I did replace all the capacitors. I have a picture of the digital board that I guess I can show here, and it definitely helped tremendously with the dropouts. So I'm very happy about that, because it seems like that's about everything done on this. Now let me catch my breath here. There are still it's still sensitive to dropouts compared to my 30,000 right there. So the only thing I could think of that could be causing that is perhaps the heads on this are more worn than the 30,000. I mean, take a look at this, machine, and it definitely was either used a lot or was just neglected. I mean, the rust on the shielding and all would lean towards definitely the latter. So that does make me wonder if I got another mechanism from like a similar unit. Like, say I got the Japanese version of this model, goes for cheap on the auction sites, I notice. So I wonder if I just import one of those and swap mechanisms, that it would work. Of course, the Japanese units, they use region 2, and on D-Theater they only ever did region 1, so it would have to be a pure mechanism swap from like a machine that's in better condition. That would be just to isolate what's causing the dropouts. Yeah, and to show you the improvement, I'm going to play you one that I was playing last time. Not using the tape there. This tape was chewed like twice by this thing, so. But I have a pristine copy that I'll use for watching. So this is Meet the Parents. If you recall from my last video, this one, the beginning of this, was really, dropping out like mad. And this one is another DTS, however, as you'll notice, it still defaults to Dolby Digital. Now, of course, there's still going to be some green blocks on here. But I mean, that's still playing better than last time by a country mile. And that's the warning that I upload on my channel, because it does mention explicitly D-Theater, which is pretty neat. So about the tape eating, I took the mechanism apart, and really studied the living daylights out of it. When I had this, yeah, this part was just dropping out like mad, but now it's actually staying put, which is amazing. And again, all I did was clean not clean. I replaced all the capacitors on the digital board and the preamp board, and just look at the difference. Now you can actually hear Randy Newman's song, even though I'm talking over it. But even if you could hear, maybe YouTube would copyright it. I don't know. But yeah, that was dropping out like mad when I showed you it last time, and now it actually was playing it through pretty well. And it plays better than my 30,000U, believe it or not. It's pretty funny. This one is handling the severe dropouts better than that one, but the minor ones, this one is still kind of being tripped up over them. So, yeah. I'm going to be a little nervous to do the recap on the 30,000, because I have never recapped the digital or the preamp board. This one was my first outing on that. But my fear is that I'm gonna do something to this one, which is one of my babies. I learned to cut teeth on this unit practically. So if something were to happen to that, I'd be very devastated. Whereas this one was more sacrificial for practice purposes. So anyway, I didn't get to talk about eating the tapes. So when I had this in the shed like last weekend and I got it all together, at first I accidentally made a solder bridge on one of the capacitors in the digital board, so I had to go back, open it all back up, and like redo that solder job. I got it all back together, and then the unit would stay on. If the unit senses like overcurrent, like from a short, or if the capstan motor is like causing an overcurrent, it will go into shutdown mode. But anyway, while I was in the shed, everything was together. The capstan was like stalling, and the capstan belt is still top notch, is still got a great grip on it. It was the capstan itself that was like stalling, and at first I was using regular VHS tapes for testing, and it was going slower than normal. And I'm like, well, is it like not detecting the right speed? But no, it's a issue of, because SP and EP tapes were both playing slow. It was an issue of some reason the capstan motor was getting stuck. So taking it all together, taking the capstan motor out, I did it by hand, and it wasn't installed anymore. I mean, the only thing I did was with the capstan board out, I did retouch the solder joint on the connector that actually connects to the plug on the board, because the joints in that, it just looked like the leads were just sitting on top of the solder pads. They weren't actually like flowed into the pads. So then that's all I did. But I don't know, to me it just seemed definitely more of a mechanical issue than it was electronic. But I mean, it hasn't eaten tapes since I put the mechanism back in after that. So of course I still need to run more tapes through here and really make sure that it's going to not chew up anything more before I put like a copy of Alien in here or something like that, and really experience the glory of DTS, which I don't have here. But yeah, this one, even though no real benefits from it, this one does have DTS. So that's all I have to say now. I did not replace all the capacitors in the power supply, but so at some point I would like to recheck, my work, basically, make sure I didn't miss anything that had like high ESR. But I would have to special order like the capacitor, because otherwise I would have replaced them by now. Yeah, and speaking of ESR, 2 caps on the preamp board there. 2 capacitors tested no less than 9 ohms ESR, and they were 100 microfarad 6.3 volts. So yeah, very unacceptable. So that's all I wanted to show you. I just want to show you this machine now working much better than before. And again, it was simply because I did a recap job on those 2 boards, and it did make a difference. So for these machines, replacing the capacitors is actually a sound move to make, because again, the heat dries them out. They really like to use 6.3 volts on the 5 volt lines, and that small of a headspace is going to wear out the caps more. Also, these were made at a time where you were still getting like capacitor issues, if I'm not mistaken. So, just not not the best capacitors, basically. So these are worth replacing. But that's all I have to say for now. Thank you guys for watching, and have a good rest of your day.